Hello there and welcome back. Tonight we will embark on a calm, unhurried journey through the science of Panda Express nutrition facts. Perhaps you've settled in for the evening, hoping to gently drift off as we explore the composition of some of the most popular dishes found at this well-known Chinese-American fast food restaurant chain. Imagine yourself in a peaceful setting, a minimalist kitchen counter softly lit in comforting tones, where a gentle glow highlights a simple takeout box, the symbol of our quiet investigation. Here, we're simply looking at data and basic culinary science, nothing more. There's no pressure, no judgment, just an opportunity to learn and reflect on the molecular makeup of these familiar menu items. You might hear a whisper in your mind, fall asleep with the science of fast food Chinese, a calming journey through nutritional analysis, and perhaps you murmur an echo to yourself. What's really in your orange chicken? A gentle look at Panda Express nutrition facts. Allow that train of thought to glide slowly across your imagination, picturing a table organized with a few different entrees, some sides, maybe a sauce or two, all arranged with the calm intention of exploring how proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and sodium align in each one. As we settle in, let us begin by considering the hallmark dish, the emblem of Panda Express in many people's minds, orange chicken. This dish has often been described as tangy, slightly sweet, and elegantly coated in a glaze that recalls the coupling of sugar and savory elements. Under deeper scrutiny, we can start with its macronutrients. Now, many of Panda Express's entrees revolve around some combination of protein, chicken, beef, or sometimes shrimp, and whatever components make up the sauce that wraps around these proteins. In the case of orange chicken, the pieces of chicken are typically battered and lightly fried, which brings a certain texture and crispness to the dish. This naturally adds to the carbohydrate content, contributed in part by the flour or starch used in the batter, as well as the sweet components of the sauce, often a mix of sugar, chili flakes, vinegar, and citrus extracts. The protein itself comes from chicken thigh meat, which has a slightly higher fat content than chicken breast, giving that succulent richness many find comforting. These small pieces are tossed in the wok with that glossy sauce, ensuring each bite is coated in a sweet savory layer. In nutritional terms, one might observe that orange chicken can contain moderate to higher levels of carbohydrates from the sugar and fried coating, while the protein content sits somewhere in a middle range, given the ratio of breading to meat. The sauce also contributes significantly to the dish's overall calorie density, since sugary glazes tend to pack a notable amount of calories into even a modest portion size. Picture, if you will, a standard takeout box with orange chicken nestled inside, the radiant sauce reflecting the lighting as the edges are softly highlighted. Each chunk can be seen as a small unit of energy, a blend of macronutrients balanced toward taste, and if you gently place a few of these chunks on a plate, you might mentally dissect them. How much carbohydrate is in that breading? How much of that sticky sauce has the potential to deliver something sweet and tangy? The important note is that any meal featuring orange chicken can also vary drastically in calorie and nutrient content depending on portion size. So when you stand at the counter deciding how much to spoon onto your plate, the difference between a modest handful and a heaping scoop can be quite large. This is one reason why it can be enlightening to glance at the posted nutritional facts, if only to appreciate the interplay of ingredients. Now let us shift our focus to another popular item, Chow Mein. Those softly stir-fried noodles, usually a bit oily, can make for a comforting bed upon which many choose to stack their chosen proteins. From a macronutrient standpoint, noodles of course bring in a notable carbohydrate contribution, while the oils used to stir-fry them add to the overall fat profile. Chow Mein from Panda Express typically includes bits of shredded cabbage, onion and celery, adding a small dose of vegetables into the mix, though the star of the dish remains the noodles themselves. Because they are cooked at relatively high heat in the wok, you might notice a slightly smoky accent. In terms of sodium content, we can note that chow mein, like many fast food or quick service restaurant items, might be on the higher side, because sauces, seasoning powders, or salty cooking components often come together to provide that savory flavor many enjoy. Chow mein thus becomes a carbohydrate-heavy side dish with a moderate to somewhat elevated level of fats, plus some protein from any tiny bits of additional ingredients. For many, this is the foundation of their meal, so they might choose to combine it with orange chicken, Beijing beef, or another entree. Let's glide gently onto that next menu item, Beijing beef. This dish, like its orange chicken cousin, is also often battered and fried, though it uses beef strips rather than chicken pieces. The sauce tends to be sweet as well, though it sometimes carries a gentle bit of heat and tanginess from peppers and a dash of ginger or vinegar. From a purely nutritional standpoint, Beijing beef follows a fairly similar template to orange chicken: protein from the beef, additional carbohydrates from the battered coating, and an even further spike in both carbs and calories from the sweet sauce. Frying can contribute additional fats to the meal, which is something that often appeals to people looking for a flavor-forward, indulgent entree. Some also note that beef, particularly cuts used for quick-service dishes like this, can have a distinct texture that pairs well with sweet and savory sauces. If you think about the sodium content, you'll remember that salt is a critical part of generating flavor in fast food cooking, so it's not unusual to see fairly high milligrams of sodium in a typical serving. You might pause and reflect that the existence of these dishes, orange chicken, Beijing beef, honey walnut shrimp and others, expresses a particular style of Chinese-American fusion, where sweet, salty, and sometimes spicy sauces blend with battered proteins to create a distinct and readily recognizable flavor profile. Some may choose to moderate how much they consume in one sitting, while others savor the portion without second thoughts, but it can be intriguing simply to see how the numbers line up. Moving on, we might look at another classic side, fried rice. Again, from a macronutrient perspective, the majority of the calories in fried rice come from carbohydrates, courtesy of the rice, which is stir-fried often with eggs, sometimes peas and carrots, and a bit of soy sauce as well as oil. The combination of eggs and vegetables yields some additional protein and micronutrients, though the meal can still be sodium forward, depending on just how liberally the soy sauce is applied during the cooking process. Fried rice provides a distinct textural contrast to chow mein, being a bit softer though still maintaining that lightly fried dimension. If you're composing a meal, you might mentally compare how the noodles carry flavor versus how the rice soaks up sauce. In a purely nutritional sense, these differences can show up in the ratio of carbohydrates, fats, and protein. Chow mein may have slightly higher or lower amounts of fat compared to the fried rice, depending on the cooking methods used on that particular day, though both often hover in the same general range for calorie density in a fast casual context. Of course, let's not forget another category of Panda Express items, the lighter or more vegetable-forward sides. There might be mixed vegetables or super greens, which typically incorporate broccoli, cabbage, zucchini, or other produce in a lightly sautéed or steamed manner with minimal sauce. These vegetable-based sides tend to stand out for having fewer carbs, fewer fats, and fewer calories overall, while naturally offering some micronutrients like vitamins and minerals. They also may carry somewhat lower sodium levels, though that can vary depending on the seasoning. Some diners appreciate these sides for rounding out the meal, offering a bit of balance against richer entrees. Now let's quietly meander to the question of meal combinations. When someone visits Panda Express, they might be drawn to the combination plate concept, selecting a particular side or 2 plus 1 or 2 entrees. That creates many possible permutations of flavors and nutritional values. For instance, perhaps you choose chow mein as a base, then top it with orange chicken, plus some broccoli beef. If we examine that from a macronutrient viewpoint, we can see it involves a fairly substantial carbohydrate portion from the noodles, with protein from the battered chicken as well as the strips of beef in the second entree. The vegetables in the broccoli beef dish provide a modest supply of fiber, vitamins and minerals to help complement the otherwise carbohydrate and protein-heavy meal. Sodium levels can be fairly significant here, as multiple sources come into play. Calorie-wise, each entree portion might add an additional 200 to 300 calories or more depending on the size of the scoop, so it's not unusual for a full plate to approach, sometimes even surpass 1,000 calories. Again, the intention here is not to pass judgment or make a health claim. Rather, it's a simple observation that underscores how quickly calories can add up in a meal featuring multiple items with sauces and breaded proteins. For those who are curious about how the macros line up, typically a standard Panda Express plate might have about 50 to 60 grams of carbohydrate in the side alone, plus additional grams of carbs from the sauces in the entrees, leading to an overall carbohydrate load that could hover between 70 to 100 grams or more. Proteins can vary significantly, somewhere in the range of 20 to 40 or even 50 grams in total, again depending on portion sizes and the specific dishes selected. Fats will likely come from the fried components and from the oils used in stir-frying. If you stop and reflect, it's fascinating to see just how these nutrients converge on our plates in the form of succulent sauce-laden bites. Another intriguing angle to consider is the role of sodium. Many fans of Panda Express might note that a salty or savory kick is part of the enjoyment, but from a nutritional facts standpoint, that dip or spike in sodium can be substantial. One entree of a dish like orange chicken might carry somewhere around 400 to 600 milligrams of sodium, which can multiply quickly when you combine it with fried rice or chow mein, each of which might contain around 500 to 800 milligrams in a typical serving, not counting extras like soy sauce packets or other condiments. So for some who are especially sensitive to sodium or are mindful of daily intake, it might be a point of curiosity to see just how a simple meal can bring the total sodium level to a meaningful fraction of one's daily recommended intake. Once again, none of this is meant to endorse or discourage any approach, merely to highlight that fast food Chinese American cuisine by its nature can be flavorful and distinct thanks in large part to these elements. Let's also talk about some of the classic dishes we haven't yet delved into, such as broccoli beef, teriyaki chicken, or kung pao chicken. Broccoli beef is a straightforward yet popular combination that pairs strips of beef with a somewhat lighter sauce containing ginger, garlic and various other savory seasonings. Nutritionally, you'll often see less sugar in this dish compared to orange chicken or Beijing beef, since it's not battered or heavily sweetened. The broccoli itself contributes fiber, vitamin C and other micronutrients, though from a sodium standpoint, the marinade or sauce can still be fairly bold. Overall, broccoli beef might be considered one of the relatively lighter entree picks from Panda Express, though that is always subject to portion size and the specifics of how it's prepared. Meanwhile, teriyaki chicken departs from the battered realm entirely, focusing instead on grilled chicken that's sliced and served with a teriyaki sauce on the side. The sauce is sweet and can be liberally poured on top, but at least the chicken is not deep fried, which might shift the overall macronutrient balance a bit more toward lean protein. Then there's kung pao chicken, which typically includes diced chicken, peanuts, peppers, zucchini and a spicy sauce. Peanuts can bump up the fat content, but they also deliver some protein. The spiciness comes from chili peppers, which can provide a certain warmth for those who enjoy heat. Whether a particular Panda Express location prepares it with extra sauce or a more moderate seasoning will partly determine the total calories and sodium. Nonetheless, it's yet another example of how these dishes maintain a shared foundation of flavors, while offering subtle variations in carbohydrate, protein, fat and sodium. Think of a luscious collage of these entrees, arranged side by side, each one shining under soft lighting. Perhaps you look at honey walnut shrimp for yet another sweet dimension. Shrimp lightly battered and coated in a honey-based sauce, topped with glazed walnuts. Here you see the interplay of succulent shrimp protein, sugary sauce and crunchy walnuts. In nutritional terms, the shrimp itself contains moderate protein, while the breading sauce and walnut topping deliver extra fats and sugars, making this item among the higher calorie seafood dishes on the menu. If you prefer something that leans more savory, you might consider the mushroom chicken, which pairs bite-sized chicken with zucchini and mushrooms in a gentle stir-fry sauce. That one might prove less sweet, focusing more on the mild, comforting flavors of sautéed mushrooms melding with chicken and fresh vegetables, though of course it still carries some sodium from the sauce. Considering the broader perspective, it's worth noting how this category of cuisine was designed to be very accessible to American palates. The Chinese-American style often features sweet, and sometimes sticky sauces to accompany battered proteins, which many find mesmerizing in taste. It's part of the reason Panda Express has become so ubiquitous. For those who might pause to analyze it from a nutritional standpoint, it can offer a fascinating look at how flavor synergy, combining sugar, salt and fat, can yield highly appealing dishes. Let us turn our attention briefly to portion size. If you remember the typical Panda Express ordering style, one might opt for a bowl, which includes a single side and a single entree, or a plate, which often includes a side and two entrees, or a bigger plate, which adds a third entree. Each scenario might shift the nutritional totals in a meaningful way. A bowl might average somewhere between 500 and 800 calories, depending on the combination. A plate can nudge well above 1,000, especially if you select battered sauce dishes as your entree choices. If you add a drink or a dessert like a cookie or an egg roll, that further changes the caloric load. Meanwhile, egg rolls and other appetizers such as cream cheese rangoons or pot stickers can add playful variety, but they also often bump up both fat and sodium, depending on their ingredients. These details highlight just how flexible the system can be, offering many ways to tailor a meal that suits your hunger level or taste preferences. Nutritional data, of course, is often posted on Panda Express's website as well as in some store locations, so onlookers can, in principle, make informed choices, or simply satisfy their curiosity. Throughout this gentle exploration, we might reflect on the fact that fast food Chinese has a certain comfort to it, especially for those who enjoy the combination of crisp fried textures with sweet, tangy sauces. Scientists and nutritionists who study food consumption might highlight that this trifecta, salt, sugar and fat, tends to engage our senses on multiple levels, making dishes particularly memorable. Yet it is also interesting to see that not all options at Panda Express are battered and fried. For instance, take the string bean chicken breast, with its leaner chicken breast cuts, fresh green beans and onions. The sauce tends to be lighter and sometimes less sweet, although still likely containing some sodium. Such dishes can offer a different nutritional composition, perhaps with a lower ratio of both sugar and total fat, giving a welcome alternative to those who prefer something more balanced. A calmer approach to ordering could incorporate these less sauced items alongside a vegetable-based side. This might yield a meal that still feels satisfying while having a bit less of a caloric or sodium punch. Note that none of these perspectives imply that one dish is strictly better or worse, merely that we are looking closely at how each dish aligns in the grand tapestry of macronutrients. Another question some may have is about the presence of MSG. Panda Express states that they don't add MSG to their entrees in the cooking process, although some of the base ingredients they source might contain naturally occurring glutamates or other flavor enhancers. That's something for the curious mind to note. In the broad sense, these savory pleasures come in part from umami elements in soy sauce, mushrooms, certain proteins and so on. People who love the robust flavor might appreciate that these particular molecules are what help give Chinese-inspired dishes that extra dimension of taste. At this stage in our calm exploration, we might pause for a moment, breathing slowly, and imagine gently swirling a pair of chopsticks or a fork through a measured portion of Panda Express fare. Perhaps you pick up a single orange-sauced chicken piece, regarding it thoughtfully. You ask yourself, how is this little morsel balanced between carbs, protein, and fats? What about a succulent strip of Beijing beef glistening in sweet sauce, or a spoonful of chow mein loaded with onions and cabbage? We can find it deeply soothing to approach our meals with that mindful consideration, not as a chore but as an exploration of how nature, cooking, and science align. Each sauce-laden bite is a small synergy, a culinary phenomenon that merges battered meat or vegetables with the science of heat, sugar caramelization, and marinade absorption. The sodium we taste is part of that immediate hit of savory goodness that can make fast food Chinese so appealing, while the sweetness from sugar-based sauces is what balances or counters the salt. Our sense of taste is designed to detect these layers, and in turn that can be part of why these dishes are such crowd pleasers. Moving deeper into that sense of curiosity, consider the cooking process. Wok frying at high heat, tossing proteins and vegetables quickly so that they sear and pick up flavor. Even if it's done in a chain setting, it still harnesses the basic technique of stir-frying that has roots in Chinese cooking traditions, stretching back centuries. The difference here might be the sweet and sour glazes that have come to define the American adaptation. By quietly dissecting the nutritional data behind the scenes, we discover that on average, many of these dishes deliver a fairly bold combination of carbs, fats, and sodium. Yet there is also protein, often a decent amount in fact, which distinguishes these dishes from purely carbohydrate-based fast food. This interplay can lend a sense of familiarity, as many Americans have grown accustomed to dropping by Panda Express for a quick lunch or dinner, piling styrofoam or cardboard containers high with an array of entrees and sides. Do you remember times when you might have found yourself deciding between fried rice or chow mein, or debating whether to add that second entree of orange chicken because it's simply too inviting. Perhaps you'd balance that by throwing in some veggies, or maybe you'd treat yourself wholeheartedly to the sweet, crispy allure of honey walnut shrimp. From a purely scientific vantage point, the question of how these sauces are formulated to stick so effectively to the battered protein is one of consistency. Thickening agents like cornstarch and the sugar content that helps the sauce cling to each bite. Stir-frying at a controlled temperature ensures the sauce is distributed evenly. While it happens quickly, the shift from raw to cooked, from runny marinade to thick glaze, is an alchemical transformation anchored in the properties of heat and starch granules. These details can make you see your meal from a new vantage point, appreciating the delicate dance of chemistry unfolding in each batch. And if we consider the entire menu, there's a broad spectrum: sweet or spicy, battered or grilled, vegetable heavy or noodle-centric. With that variety comes a wide range of nutritional outcomes, so making decisions at the counter might sometimes be guided by taste alone, while other times, you might glance at the posted numbers out of curiosity or caution. Let us wander a bit through the thought processes of someone building a meal. Perhaps they pick super greens to reduce carbohydrate intake, then pair it with teriyaki chicken for a relatively lean protein, lightly drizzling the sweet sauce so as not to overdo the sugar content. Alternatively, someone else might go all in on chow mein, orange chicken, and Beijing beef, relishing each sweet, savory bite. In either case, it could be comforting to know that you have the power to choose how the macronutrients and sodium add up. Although some days, your only concern might just be that comfort and flavor. There's a certain reassurance in understanding that what we consume can be dissected into tangible elements: grams of protein, amounts of carbs, levels of fats, and the presence of sodium. Through that lens we demystify the food. We see it not as purely temptation or indulgence, but as a composition of elements that harmonize to create a widely celebrated fast food experience. Even the color palette of these dishes can be intriguing. The luminous orange-brown sauce that coats the chicken, the deep reddish hue of Beijing beef, the light sesame seeds sprinkled here or there. These cues let our eyes shape our impressions before we even take a single bite. Some might even argue that this visual appeal plays a role in priming our brains for satisfaction. Plastics or cardboard containers keep things simple, and if you open up the box and peek inside, you see the steam swirl, carrying the aroma of soy sauce, garlic, ginger, maybe a dash of dried chili. If you let yourself drift into that scene, it can be oddly relaxing to just reflect on the wholeness of it. As you keep listening, your eyelids might grow heavier, and that's perfectly alright. We are simply drifting in a space of relaxed curiosity, gleaning the gentle facts of Panda Express nutrition. Maybe you reflect on the interplay of sweetness used in the sauces. They could be white sugar, brown sugar, honey, or even variations of corn syrup that help create that sticky, appealing texture. If you've ever prepared a stir-fry at home, you know how that swirl of sugar, soy sauce, vinegar, and spices can transform ordinary morsels of protein and vegetables into something fragrant and delightful. Now scale that up in a restaurant environment, and you have the synergy that draws crowds to the neon-lit storefront, waiting for a fresh batch of orange chicken to be brought out. Another point to consider is how Panda Express has grown to offer some dishes labeled as Wok Smart, usually advertised as lower calorie or containing more vegetable. This might reflect an attempt to cater to a range of dietary preferences, while Wok Smart items
items can indeed be leaner, you still might want to look at the sodium number or the source composition if you're curious about the complete picture. Indeed, one of the subtler joys of exploring these facts is realizing that no single dish is monolithic. Ingredients vary, seasonings and cooking times can shift with each batch, and there's always the question of how heavily sourced your portion happens to be. Some employees might give you a generous extra scoop, while others measure more precisely. This variability is part of the fast food experience. As we approach a somewhat comprehensive picture of Panda Express's menu, we might note that while many items share common threads, battered proteins, sweet sauces and moderate or high sodium, some differ enough in composition to make a tangible difference nutritionally. That's part of the beauty of having multiple entree choices. You can create a meal with a broad distribution of protein and carbs, or lean more heavily toward vegetable. You might choose to enjoy breaded dishes in moderation while gravitating toward grilled items or sides that incorporate more greens, or you might simply let your cravings guide you, choosing the flavors that bring a smile to your face on a given day. All the while, the underlying scientific concepts remain the same: proteins fueling muscle function and bodily repair, carbohydrates supplying energy, fats delivering satiety and flavor, and sodium helping regulate fluid balance, while also intensifying taste on our palates. Observing these chemical interactions without negativity or alarm can be soothing. Tonight, as we cuddle up in bed or recline in a comfortable chair, we're not here to wave a finger or amplify caution, but to gently illuminate how Panda Express has built such a popular empire of sweet, savory, and satisfyingly crisp options. For many, it's a go-to choice when you're on the run or just craving that sticky, tangy profile of Chinese American classics. From the vantage point of calm curiosity, we've taken a close look at how signature entrees like orange chicken or Beijing beef can harbor more sugar and fat due to their batter and sauce. We've also recognized that other dishes like broccoli beef, kung pao chicken or mushroom chicken might offset the sweetness somewhat and supply a bit more in terms of vegetables. Meanwhile, sides such as chow mein or fried rice bring a fair amount of carbohydrates and can be moderate to high in sodium, especially if you add condiments. Lighter sides like mixed vegetables or super greens rely less on heavy sauces, and thus may have fewer calories and slightly less sodium, all with a more straightforward vegetable-forward taste. We might think about how certain cooking techniques rely on that big wok, a swirl of hot oil, and potent sauces that cling to each piece. High heat can also help lock in that toasty dimension that keeps us coming back for more. Regardless, each swirl and toss in the wok is an expression of the chemistry of cooking. Even if you decide not to eat there very often, it's quite interesting to consider how it all fits together, how an apparently simple dish can be the sum of multiple parts, each relevant to the body and palate alike. As our exploration gradually winds down, you can let yourself drift, imagining that warm glow in the distance, the minimalist kitchen counter, the subtle shadows cast by the overhead lighting. Maybe you visualize a small takeout box of Panda Express sitting in the center, each side of the box softly outlined, waiting to be discovered. Inside are morsels of battered chicken or steamed vegetables, each holding a small story of chemistry and flavor. We've calmly unpacked how a typical orange chicken might lean heavily on sweeteners, how an order of chow mein might provide a robust portion of carbohydrates, and how sodium weaves itself throughout the entire menu. These are not judgments, but rather observations, glimpses into the synergy of taste and science. You might now be feeling that gentle pull of sleep, lulled by the methodical nature of this nutritional reflection. In your mind, the swirl of steam subsides, the quiet hum of discussion calms, and you're left with the softness of a nighttime hush, aided by the comforting knowledge that even a fast food meal can be a gateway to understanding the interplay of ingredients that nourish us, one plate at a time. We've reached a place of soft closure, where you can let your eyes rest, your thoughts slow, and your body drift into soothing slumber. Thank you for tuning into this peaceful, evidence-based exploration of Panda Express nutrition facts. May you take with you a sense of calm, and perhaps a renewed curiosity about the meals we often enjoy without a second thought. Let the calmness of the evening wrap around you now. Good night, and sweet dreams.